All right, Brittany, let me get you unmuted. All right, you guys. Hello. All right, Miss Brittany. So let's just kick it off. I don't know that everybody knows your story, so let's just hear your story real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys so much for having me. My name is Brittani Hayes. I'm Ambassador Diamond. I've been with It Works for just 3 years. I celebrated my 3-year anniversary actually just the end of June. And I got started after watching my enroller, Claire Flores, on social media for 11 months. I actually was her customer for hair, skin, and nails ever since like 2 weeks into her business. And prior to seeing her join It Works and post about it, I had never heard of It Works before. And so all I knew was I saw her posting all these pictures of beautiful hair, and my hair was so fried and so damaged that I was like, okay, let me see if this stuff will work for me. And I wanted to be able to support her in her new business. Was blown away when my hair grew 4 inches in 2 months, and immediately was like, holy cow, if this works, what else works? So I kept my auto shipment on that whole time. I started, just trying other things. Loved everything that I tried. And in the meantime, I watched her retire her husband. I watched her, start earning an incredible income off social media. I watched them continue to earn bonus after bonus after bonus. And I just was sitting back like, holy cow, how are they doing this? And just kind of, I guess you could say, always like stopped to wonder if it would work for me, but then quickly talked myself out of it and was like, oh, I probably wouldn't be any good at that, or people probably wouldn't like me the way they like her. And I just kept letting fear get in my head. But finally, after watching for 11 months, we were in a place where we really needed a financial miracle. I just had my 4th baby at the time. We have 5 kids now, but at the time, I just had my 4th baby. He was 8 weeks old, and my husband was working 2 jobs, so I could stay home with our kids. And we were just so broke, literally having to put gas and groceries on our credit card. We barely had enough money just to pay our rent. My husband had his business, and it was just a slow season for our business, hence why he picked up the 2nd job. And we just felt so out of control of our own life and just felt like we were having to live reactively about everything. And I was up late one night. I was just like so sick with anxiety, and I was crying out to God for a solution. And I felt like he so clearly said to me, Brittany, the answer's been right in front of you. Just trust me and just do it. And so I literally just out of the blue, I had never expressed any interest in the business to Claire at all. I loved her posts. Like I always gave her a courtesy like, but I never actually expressed any interest, never asked her any questions. I texted her out of the blue that night and just said, hi, I want to join your team. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I honestly went into it from that moment forward with the mindset of, okay, if it works for her, it'll work for me. I'm a hard worker. I'm willing to learn. I'll just learn as I go. I'll do whatever she teaches me to do. And honestly, I think that's like probably what I would say was one of the most noteworthy pieces of my story is I came into this like with that mindset, okay, she's already been successful. When I joined, she was a triple diamond. I was like, if I'll just do what she teaches me to do, it's got to work for me too. I maybe won't go as fast as her or whatever, but I mean, if I trust her and do what she teaches me, it'll work. And that was that. The rest was history. 7 months in, I was earning more than my husband was, and so we retired him and brought him home. We've been a full-time family ever since then. And then by 10 months into the business, we started averaging a 6-figure income with this business, and then went triple diamond 2 months after that. We sat at triple for 17 months and then went presidential this past fall, and then 5 months later went ambassador. So it's just absolutely changed our life. We've paid off all of our credit cards. It was over $120,000 debt. A lot of that we accumulated from our business, and we never thought we would be able to get that paid off in any like good frame of time. And through this business, we paid all that off. And yeah, just truly able to live a life we honestly never even dreamt was possible, thanks to this business.
Oh my gosh, that is like incredible. I knew the majority of your story, but I didn't realize the timeline that you did it in. Like that is so incredible. But isn't that so true that 99% of this business is your mindset? And you came in with the mindset of, if she can do this, I can do this. I know when I came in, I know it says I'm Brittany Landrum tonight, but for those of you guys who don't know, I'm not Brittany Landrum. I was enrolled by Brittany, but that was I saw Britt do it. And so I was like, if she can do it, I can do it. And so every single person on this Zoom, you have to know, like you've seen us do it, you can do it as well. You just have to do the steps and do the things. You just have to show up every single day. So you mentioned you are a busy mom of 5 kids, and I'm sure they're all like young. So talk to us about how do you find the time? How do you make this a priority?
Yeah. So honestly, what just from day one, and I didn't quite know what my non-negotiables needed to look like from the beginning. So I want you to hear, if you're new, I want you to hear me say this, like, it's okay, like taking it one day at a time and figuring things out. But I quickly realized, like, okay, I have a busy life. So the things that I learn are important to do. I have to make them a priority. And I would say probably somewhere between the time of executive and Ruby, I had kind of a slow start. I want to say that, and I can talk more about that later, but it took me 4 months to go Ruby. So I definitely didn't like come out of the gate swinging or anything. Took me some figuring out in the beginning, but probably sometime between executive and Ruby is when I really nailed down my 6 list. I have the same 6 list today. It's nothing, legendary or anything. It's just I add friends to my Facebook every day. I follow 200 people on Instagram. I make sure that I'm spending at least 15 minutes engaging with my network on both platforms. So I make sure that I'm liking and commenting on Instagram, liking and commenting on Facebook. I literally just make it my goal to be the person that makes other people smile. That just like they see me in their notifications, they're like, oh my gosh, she's so nice. Because social media is such like a judgy world, and so many people are getting, just unsolicited negative opinions. And so I want them to see me and it to be something to counteract something bad that happened that day. And so that's kind of just always been my goal. And then I make sure that I post 3 to 6 times a day. So even if it's a just crazy day and so much is going on, I won't let myself go below 3 because in my head, I know that's my standard. Like I can't go below 3. Now, maybe for you, it's different, but I think it's so important to have a standard because if we don't have a standard, then on a bad day, like what's going to hold us to it, And then I make sure to follow up with anyone that I talked to the day before. So maybe there was a conversation the day before that kind of dropped off. That person that you send the pricing over and they read it, they don't respond. Those types of conversations, I check back in the next day, just, hey girl, did you want to go ahead and get started on that? Or hey girl, what questions did you have for me? Just literally short, sweet, and direct follow-ups. And then the last thing is just making sure, last but certainly not least, I make sure to do my self-development every day. And that is honestly what consumes, I would say, like 30% of my time, which I can get into that in a minute. But what I want to say is that once I nailed my 6 list down, these things became truly non-negotiable for me. They weren't just a good idea. They weren't just something that sounds good. Like if it's a perfect day and the kids are behaving, I'll get these done. They truly, in my mind, I like equate them with brushing my teeth. Like that's how important they are to me. I was literally just telling someone earlier, like even if it was a crazy day and there was like a stomach bug that hit my house, like I don't care if I'm laying in bed at 2 in the morning growing my following on Instagram, like I'm gonna do it. I don't care if it's 2 in the morning and I'm like liking and commenting because I didn't get that done in the day. Like it's that important to me that it has to be squeezed in at some point. And so I think it's a powerful thing when our mind views what we're doing as that, because if you view it like no matter what happens, I have to get these 6 things done, you'll do it. Like even if it's a crazy day and you're doing it 2 in the morning, you'll do it because in your head you're like, this is a non-negotiable. But I think so often the problem is we loosely throw out the word non-negotiable, but we don't actually treat it as non-negotiable. It's more just one of those things like we do it if we're feeling like it. We feel super proud of ourselves when we do it, but we only really do it like 3 days a week. And so I honestly, like if there's nothing else you take away from me tonight, I hope it's that so don't underestimate the power of being relentlessly consistent, because if you will be relentlessly consistent with the small things, you don't have to be a mass enroller. You don't have to be this person that, is just like, has all these tips and tricks and can do all the things. Like there's so much power in just doing the same things over and over and over again. And I figured that out, a few months into my business and I've just stuck with it. And like I said, I didn't have a fast start, but the compound effect kicked in and it picked up. And so, yeah.
I love it. 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 We preach it all the time that there is no secret to this business. It's simply just showing up and doing the things, and nothing that we do is hard or rocket science. It's just literally, it's hard to show up on the days you don't feel like it, but it's those people that continue to show up that truly, truly make it. So you kind of already answered my next question, which was what do you do non-negotiable every day? Let me ask you this. You talked a little bit about self-development. So what is like your go-to self-development? What do you love?
So in the morning, I start my mornings off with spiritual self-development. I literally do not answer anyone back in the morning. I don't care if I wake up and I've got 200 messages, like not going to answer it till I've watched a sermon or something like that. Like that's when I do my spiritual self-development. So I love Elevation Church's YouTube channel. I love Dr. Darius Daniels. If you guys follow Cami, she shares a lot of stuff from him. He's amazing. Stephen Furtick's YouTube channel has like some different things that Elevation maybe doesn't have. So I subscribe to all of them on YouTube. And honestly, when I get up in the morning, I get my keto coffee and chocolate greens, and I sit down and I go to YouTube on the TV and I just watch something that's recommended from one of those channels. And that's how I start my day off. And those are about 45-minute long sermons. That's my time for me to drink my coffee and then soak in something. And I'm just a firm believer that if we don't start the day off taking care of ourselves and filling our own cup, we're never going to be able to give anybody else the best of us. And so, you know, especially like as your team grows and stuff, like, yeah, it can be so easy to just want to immediately at the start of the day start answering things, but I want them to have the best of me. And I know that for that to happen, I have to take care of myself first and get my head on straight. And so that's what I start my day off with, is spiritual self-development. And then when I go to get ready, or if I'm going to go on a walk, or if I have an errand to run, I'm getting in the car, like any of those opportunities, I will listen to an audiobook. And so I pretty much just squeeze an audiobook in, again, anytime I can. So shower, doing makeup, driving, going on a walk. Honestly, even if I'm just like folding laundry, I'll put my AirPods in and listen to a book. I think just identifying those pockets of time when you can listen to a book is so, so powerful, because you can finish a book a week if you utilize all that time. And so that's my best advice, especially if you're on here and you're a busy mom, because if you don't intentionally squeeze the self-development in, the day will get away from you. And it's, you know, really easy on those, you know, kind of rough days when it doesn't seem like anything's going right. And maybe you've done, you know, 300 follow-ups and no one answered back. Like, it's really easy to get in your own head. But if you've been doing self-development through all these pockets of time throughout the day, even if it's just like 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here, you're going to have a good head on your shoulders, and you're going to be, you know, you're going to have your sights set on the long term. And so honestly, like what I preach to my team is that everything rises and falls on self-development. And so if you're not doing your self-development, honestly, like in my opinion, and I know this is a strong statement, but I think everything else is in vain, because like our posts aren't going to be as good, our conversations aren't going to be as good, like nothing is going to be as good if we're not, you know, taking care of ourselves first. So yeah, that's what I do, is just nothing's too crazy, but just that sermon in the morning, and always have a book that I'm listening to. And kind of going back to the posting standard, I have a standard for my books as well, and it's to finish a book a week. And so obviously I'm not perfect. Sometimes I might not finish one in a week, but what I do is I just try to catch up the next week and, you know, eventually make up that time. And maybe that's not what you want your goal to be, but I think, again, it's just so important to have a goal, because maybe you want to start off with a book a month, that's fine, but set something in place to where you're going to hold yourself to it. Because I think so often with self-development, we're just like, you know, we like the concept of it, we like the idea of it, but when it comes down to holding ourselves to it, you know, we don't. And then that's the missing piece in our business.
Totally. Sometimes I feel like it's the first thing to get pushed to the back burner when life gets crazy, but your business or your success or your happiness will never you're never going to get that higher than your mindset. And your mindset is literally, it will make or break your business, your success, your life, everything. So, okay. So let's talk about, I know this is like the number one question on every single Zoom we get. If I ask like, what do you want to know? How to enroll distributors. So what are your top tips for consistently enrolling distributors?
Yeah. So my number one tip for enrolling distributors is to tell your story over and over and over and over again. I actually heard a tip from you guys is like, I don't know how many ambassadors up Erin is from you guys, because you guys have like a rock star team. So third or fourth ambassador applying for you guys. I'm not sure, but she told me a long time ago, like, you should be telling your story minimum of 10 times a day. And for me, not that I think there's anything wrong with messaging, so don't take that away from this, but I've never been a messenger. I've always been like really strong attraction marketing. And so what that said to me was like, if I'm not in enough conversations to be telling my story 10 times a day, then I've got to be overcompensating for it somehow. I've got to be putting my story in my story a couple times that day. I've got to make sure that maybe I'm not just telling it once on my, like in a post, I'm telling it twice that day. I've got to get some host to post up to where I'm going to get in new conversations and tell my story, you know, whatever. But that, you know, kind of going along the lines of the other standards that we've been talking about with posting and self-development, that was something that I was like, okay, I can make this a standard to where my story is coming out of my mouth in some form or fashion 10 times a day. And you maybe are hearing that and that sounds intense, but it's really not, because if you think about it, like if you're just in that many conversations, if you're in 7 conversations and you post it twice and then once in your actual story, boom, there's your 10 right there. And so that's something that I just have stuck to ever since I heard that. I make sure to tell my story in just any way that I can on my feed. And so I post it to Facebook and to Instagram. And I want you to know, like, if you're new, it can be really easy to kind of get in your head and think, well, I don't have a story to tell, so how would that work for me? But one thing that I did early on in the beginning was just tell Claire's story. So I encourage you, like, tell your enroller story, or tell, Trista's story. Just like tell one of your upline stories. What I would do is I would just like make a post, and it might be like a selfie of me or a family picture. And I would just say, for months and months and months, I followed a girl on social media and watched her rapidly change her family's life. I watched her take them from struggling to the life of their dreams, and always wondered if I could do it too. Finally, after a lot of watching, I jumped in and reached out, and I'm so excited because this is going to be the year that everything changes for us. We're paying off our debt month by month, and I'm just so excited for what the future holds. If you've been praying for an opportunity as well, I would love so much to talk to you about how working off your smartphone just may be the solution you've been praying for. Message me or text opportunity too, and then I give my phone number. So like, if you notice, there was nothing in there that said anything about like I was super successful or I had made all this money. Like, it was just a story of hope. And you can do that no matter at what stage of the business you're in. I mean, heck, sometimes to this day, to mix it up, I still will tell Claire's story because sometimes it's just like a good break in the way that I post. So definitely don't get in your head and think that you don't have a story to tell, because there's so many ways that you can confidently put out there where you're going. And honestly, like, one thing I learned early on in this business was the world that we live in, like, so many people just feel like they're just lost spinning their wheels. They're just stuck in this, going through the motions type of life, and they want to follow someone who knows where they're going. And so you could be an executive, but if you're out there putting this strong message of hope every day that you're headed somewhere better, don't underestimate how many people will latch onto that and want to come. One of the triple diamonds on my team today, she actually reached out to me when I was an executive. She ended up joining the month I went diamond, but I wasn't diamond yet. She joined like 3 weeks before I went diamond. I was ruby. I skipped emerald, went from ruby to diamond. I didn't know this at the time, but she ended up sharing with me, like, she was probably like double diamond when she shared this with me, that when she reached out to me as an executive, she thought by the way I was posting that I must have been a top leader in the company. She had no clue that I was making like $200, and so people don't, like, they're not, the things you're thinking they're thinking of, they're not thinking of. And so if there's anything I can say, it's like, just don't underestimate like what a powerful story of hope, what a confident story of, headed towards a better place can do for those people in your network watching you.
Amen. I love that so much. And I love that you mentioned like sharing Claire's story, or sharing, because I will, if I'm talking to somebody and they're talking about, well, I'm a teacher or I'm a whatever, I don't know if I have the time, I don't know if I can do it. I'm going to go and I'm going to find somebody who is a teacher and rocks it out, and I'm going to share their story on my feed. So I know, like, I'm putting that out there. So sharing other people's story, but every single person on here has a story. You have hope. You joined for a reason. So speak confidently and walk into that boldly, and it attracts people to you. They sense that confidence and that hope. Okay, so let's talk about this. So you've enrolled them. Now, how do you get your new distributors off the ground, running and rolling on their own? Walk us through that. What's that look like for you?
Yeah, so one thing I want to make sure is that I'm not information overloading them. I really want to meet people where they're at. We all find those people that are ready to come out of the gate strong. They've already watched like 5 training videos before bed their first night. But then we have those people that, they sign up and it takes 2 weeks to make their first post. Now, that's not ideal. Like, obviously we want them to get started off strong. But my point of that is that I want to make sure that I'm running with the runners and walking with the walkers. And so I'm never going to send somebody who clearly is like having a hard time just getting their first post up. I'm not going to send them like 20 training videos to watch, because that's probably not a good idea. That's going to overwhelm them. So I just am a really big believer at meeting them where they're at. My very, very first things is I have like a first post example in my team page. I tag them in that. And then I tag them in just like a welcome training video that my leaders and I made, and I have them watch that training, and I just say, watch this and then write down your questions and come back to me with your questions. I put the ball in their court, come back to me with your questions, and then I tag them in a first post example, and when I tag them in it, I say, message me before you post so I can help you with it. And so that puts the ball in their court, that gives them the time to do it, but it also kind of shows me right away how they're going to be based on how fast they come back to me. Now, if I have not heard back from them in a few days, I'm going to check back in. But honestly, some people come back to me in an hour. They've watched the video, they have their questions, they're ready for their first post, they're sending me a draft. And so I know, like, okay, they're ready to run. Like, I'm going to keep giving them step by step. But some people, I'm checking in 2-3 days and they haven't even watched it yet. And so I think that it's super important to, like, until you know how they're going to be, have a couple things that you think are really important for them to do and start with that, and then give it to them step by step from there, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But basically everything we do is very duplicatable. I just, after they've made their first post, I have a second post example I give them. We jump right into host to post from there. And then let's see, what else do we do? I get them, I try to like right away, like within their first few days, help them get established with a good posting routine. So I will show them, you know, how I post and kind of go through that with them, but then I will really figure out like what is going to be a good routine for them. Because some people, like if they're a teacher and they're at work all day, they maybe aren't going to post like I am being home. But then if they're a stay-at-home mom like me, they might find that's a really seamless routine for them. So I like to really help them nail down a good posting routine, and help and make sure that they know what kinds of things to post about. Which kind of leads me to my last thing. I like for my new distributors to really think about like what are 5 things that they want people to think of when they see them. And so those are the things that your posts are always going to be kind of centered around. And it's okay if they can't think of 5 from the beginning, but like for me, like I want people, like I want my faith to be communicated very strongly in my posts. I'm really big in my posts in empowering women and like helping women even realize that, you know, they have such a, you know, big purpose out there, even if they don't know what it is, and like stepping into that calling. My family is super important to me. I'm a big proponent of preaching like being the best version of yourself and not getting caught up in comparison, because I think that we live in a world that likes to compare way too much. So that's something that comes across in my posts. And then just being healthy, just being, you know, just always just growing and being better and better every single day. So I always like for my people to think of like 5 things that they can get behind, because when you know those 5 things, it makes it a lot simpler to think of what to post. And especially as you start getting in the habit of writing your story every day, you have those kinds of things you can pull from, like those different sources of inspiration, I guess.
I love that. I love that. I love that so much. Okay, so we have a few extra minutes. So I'm going to throw in, you didn't know these were coming. So I'm just going to throw out some extra little questions that I've thought of kind of as we were talking. So you said you follow like 200 people on Instagram a day. How do you decide who to follow? How important is the network that you're like, how do you find your dream network? Let's say it that way.
So the best and most simple tip I can give is like find a picture on your feed that is something that you like, not another distributor that posted it, but a normal person that posted it that's not in your business, but it's a picture that you liked. Maybe it's a really pretty wedding photo. Maybe it's a picture of their kids. Like it doesn't matter what it is, but it's a picture that you genuinely like. If you can't find one in your feed, or you have a really small feed right now, you could go to Explore and do the same thing. But click on the likers of that photo, and then I follow the likers. I follow all the likers who are women, just anyone who looks normal. And then I just do that until I hit 200. If it's a picture, the picture you clicked on you really liked only had like 30 likes, you can go to that person's profile and go to the latest like 3 pictures and follow the likers of the latest 3. But by following likers, you're going to get active Instagram users. Whereas if you go to like maybe a profile you really like and you follow the followers, like you don't even know those people are active. Like they maybe haven't even been on Instagram in 6 months. So this is a way that I have found I get like a pretty good amount of follow backs. And chances are if you liked that picture, you're probably going to have something in common with the people who liked that picture, because they like that picture too. So that's just a really simple way to find like-minded people in my experience. And then I'm really big on keeping my feed cleaned up. So if I am scrolling Instagram and I see a picture that's like really gross or really offensive, or, you know, something like that, that I'm like, I don't know why I'm following this person, then I'll always unfollow them on the spot, because I want to make sure that, you know, my time scrolling Instagram and engaging is with people I would want on my team. And so, and I didn't say this before, but this is a great tip to like make engaging a strong habit, is anytime I'm scrolling, I'm liking and commenting. So I never ever scroll without liking and commenting. So if I'm going to sit there and like see what's going on, every single picture gets a like or comment from me. And if it's something that I genuinely can't bring myself to like or comment, then I shouldn't be following that person. So I'm just going to unfollow. But when you start getting in that habit, it's amazing how much your interaction goes up, because you're giving so much love and your audience starts knowing who you are. And then now when you make that, you know, vulnerable post tonight telling your story, like they're going to remember you. And so engagement, I think, is just such a huge thing to do, especially if you're not already in the habit of that.
Yes, I love that so much. I think Lachelle actually gave that tip like a long time ago. And so I've now when I scroll, because I was really bad about just I would scroll for hours and then be like, what the heck did I just do? Like I just scrolled randomly. So every single post I'm either liking, commenting, or unfollowing, unfriending, like there is an action with every single post now. Okay, so we have a brand new product launching tomorrow. What are your tips for like knocking a product launch out of the park?
Okay, so the number one thing that I'll say is leave no stone unturned. So that means that every single loyal customer that you've ever signed, even if they haven't ordered for 6 months, every customer that you've ever signed before, go and tell them about the new product. You can use the Connect app and text them all really quickly, but I let every customer know. And it's just a super simple message. I literally say the same thing anytime we launch a product. It's just like, hey girl, I hope you're doing amazing. I wanted to check in and let you know we just launched blah, blah, blah. I wanted to let you know first because you get 40% off of it and first dibs on it. Did you want me to go ahead and snag you a spot for it? Or did you want me to go ahead and get you an order in? Just something like that. I'm getting in orders all day. I would love to help you get in one too. And so just basically something, it doesn't have to be perfectly written, just sense of urgency, excitement, and reminding them they have 40% off. And what I have found is that this serves so many purposes because even if they don't order the new product, a lot of times they're like, oh, I'll skip on that now, but I need more coffee and greens. Like they maybe remember something they ordered from you before that they want more of. So it always is fruitful. So check in with all of your old customers, make sure that you order the new product right away, because if we have seen anything by now, it's that our products are so hot, they're selling out right away. So you'll want to get your order in ASAP before it sells out. If you have team members, you want to make sure they know like, hey, this is going to sell out. If you want to get your hands on it, get your hands on it soon. And then I also check in with all my potentials. So maybe people who have not, I've been following up with them forever about, I don't know, coffee and greens, and they just, ghost me when it comes time to order or whatever. I always let them know about the new product because it's funny, like sometimes people will ghost you about one thing, but then you check in about something else and they're like, oh yeah, that sounds good, let me get that. I experienced that with Thermifite X. I had people that literally had been blowing me off about coffee and greens, but then ordered Thermifite X. And so don't make any assumptions. Assume that, anyone that's ever shown you interest, very well could order that product, and leave no stone unturned.
I love it. Okay, one last question, and then I know you have to get off here and hop on your team Zoom. So what if there's one tip you could give, or maybe one thing that you wish you would have maybe learned sooner or done sooner? What is like one thing that you can just leave us with?
Okay, so I would say, number one, people are always watching. And so don't assume if you're new, or maybe even you've been in a few months and you're not getting a ton of interaction on your stuff. Maybe it's like literally your husband and your enroller liking your stuff. That was me. People are always watching. Someone told me that in the beginning, and it literally stuck with me and gave me comfort on those days when I was getting 2 likes on my things. And it literally has proven true time and time again. I just signed a distributor this morning who literally said, I've watched you since you started. I've been in 3 years, you guys. She's never expressed interest in products, never expressed interest in business, never even liked or commented on a single post, but said to me in complete, blatant terms, I've watched you since you started. So people are always watching. And that kind of leads me into like the part 2 of this answer. Every seed will sprout. We just don't know when. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And if you always plant seeds, you'll always have a harvest to reap, but we don't know the life cycle of the seeds. And so if you get discouraged because you feel like things aren't happening fast enough for you, that seed that you planted is still going to sprout. It's just someone else is going to reap it. If there's one thing that I've learned in this business is that so many people walk away right before their harvest. I literally have signed so many customers that come to me on Instagram and they're like, hey, do you sell It Works? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. How can I help you? They're like, oh, well, I've been order hair, skin, and nails from a girl, but when I reached out to her, I found out she quit 6 months ago. Can I get some from you? And so, I just think that if there's anything I can tell you, it's that don't rush the process and don't get discouraged if things aren't happening very fast. When I got started, it took me 4 months. And I had a lot of people who were literally going Ruby.
You don't have to start buying what you
that joined that same month as me. on Claire's team. And I remember looking at some of them thinking, why are they going so fast? Like, why am I so much slower? I feel like I'm doing all the right things. But I just kept going. I knew that God was going to bless my efforts, even if it was in a different time frame. And it took me 4 months to go Ruby, but 3 months later I went Diamond. And the month that I went Diamond, so many of those Rubies who promoted in their first month had quit because they didn't go Diamond the next month. And so I don't say that to say if someone promotes fast, they're going to quit, but I say that to say not everything is as it seems. And just because someone else is going faster than you, don't let that discourage you, because you just don't know when your speed is going to pick up. I had what so many people would have considered a slow start. Only signed 4 customers my first month. Only signed 4 customers my second month. But at my 1 year, I was triple diamond. I sat at triple diamond for 17 months, but then my jump from press to ambassador was only 5 months. You know, like, you just don't know what the time frame is going to be for your journey. And so don't get caught up comparing yourself to anybody else. Just focus on showing up every single day, getting better and better every single day, and take quitting off the table. Treat this business like your marriage, and I promise you, you will be absolutely blown away where you are a year from now if you just go into this next year with that attitude and that mindset.
Amen, sister. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for hopping on with us tonight. I'll let you get off of here so you can go jump on your team Zoom, but we appreciate you so, so much. And I will get this recording to you guys. So thank you. Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Bye, guys.